In marriage, God said, a man shall leave father and mother and be joined to his wife. The man God had in the picture when he designed marriage is not the man most people are. That's why they can't succeed. That man does not cheat. That man is not self-centered. That man is not selfish. That man does not count error. The man that God is talking about, that man is selfless. That man is dead to himself. That man is willing to give all he has to his spouse. That man is willing to surrender his whole life. That man is malleable. That man is humble. That man is yielded. That man knows God. That man hears from God. That man walks with God. That man fears God. People, most men are not that. They can't succeed in marriage. Anybody that is not willing to adjust themselves should not marry. Because if you remain the way you are, you're going to have a lot of problems. When people marry and they are trying to change their partner, they run into a lot of problems. Nobody can change anybody. The only person you can change is yourself. Every good marriage is good work. Not just the work you work on yourself, you work on your marriage. So every time you see a couple and they are happy, don't think because both of them are working hard. It could be only one person carrying the whole load. So marriage is not 50-50. It's from you, 150%.
Are there different types of marriage?
No, they are only different human beings. You don't need to marry to go to heaven. You don't need to marry to succeed in life. Marriage is not by force. Jesus talked about marriage. The two places he talked about marriage, when he was gone, his disciples said, if it be the case, a man should not marry. You teach about marriage, and people are hurried. You're having marriage seminar. People are getting married in a hurry. It means you're teaching error. If you teach marriage the way God saw it, the way God designed it, nobody should marry in a hurry. Why? Marriage is a journey of no return. There's no marriage that can succeed without sex. Impossible. Sex is God's idea. It's not a dating game. There's a way you grow up. You think, but sex is not automatic. It's learning. You have to read and study and go to school to learn. You can't have Papa Bomboy and Ma Bomboy and succeed in marriage. If there's no romance, that marriage is dead.
Hi guys, it's Benzik again, and on this episode we're going to talk about marriage. This period, there are young people that are interested in getting married, and there are many couples that are probably experiencing different forms of challenges in their marriage. Here, C Enelamah is an expert when it comes to marriage, and we're going to discuss about building an effective marriage on this episode. If you're coming here for the first time, hit the subscribe button and share this video with someone. So welcome C Enelamah again on this episode. Sir, it's good to have you again once again on this particular episode. Now we're talking about marriage. What is marriage and why was it created in the first place?
Very good point. Marriage is God's idea in the first place. Marriage was created by God as a mirror, a reflection, as a prototype of relationship between Christ and the church. Marriage typifies the mystical union that exists between Christ and the church. Marriage is a covenant relation between a man and a woman, male and female, that typifies the mystical union between Christ and the church. Marriage is a covenant relationship. Marriage is God's idea from the beginning. It was God that said, it's not good that man should be alone. It was God that brought Adam and Eve together, that separated the femaleness of man from the maleness of man and made it a union. Jesus said, what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. Jesus also said, therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall be one flesh. So marriage is a union, it's a covenant between a man and a woman. It's God's idea. Marriage is a school. Marriage is an institution. Marriage has so many special qualities. Marriage is not culture. Marriage is not man's idea. Marriage is not man's culture. It's not Indian marriage, marriage among the Yoruba people, marriage among the Igbos. Marriage is God's idea. It's like, just like BMW is a German machine. Marriage is God's idea. Therefore, people will start to fail in marriage when they want to do it their own way. Marriage is a school. Nobody becomes a doctor without medical training. You'll be quack. If people enter the marriage institution without preparation, they will fail.
So why is marriage so important? Is it important in the first place?
Marriage is important because there's no way God's agenda for humanity will be fulfilled without marriage. Because it was by marriage, only by marriage, that humans can be multiplied on earth. And God's agenda for man at the point of creation was that the glory of God, the purpose of God, the prototype of God, which was placed in the Garden of Eden, will be multiplied throughout human race. Because he said that the earth shall be filled with the glory of God as the waters cover the sea. That could not be achieved without marriage, because it was only by marriage that man could multiply himself on earth. So marriage was an integral part of God's agenda for humanity.
Wow. So what can you call the pillars of marriage? Do we have anything like the pillars of marriage?
Yes, there are things you can call the pillars of marriage.
Okay.
Which basically means what does a successful marriage stand upon?
Good.
The first thing is the revelation of marriage itself. The fact that it's God's idea. God said, what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. That's the first pillar. The next pillar of marriage is that marriage is built on or oiled by love. Marriage is lubricated by love. But not just any kind of love. It's God's kind of love. It's called agape. Love means when you are pursuing, desiring the highest good of your partner at your own cost and expense. Love is pursuing, desiring, aspiring, working towards the highest good of your partner at your own cost and expense. That's love. A man should so love his wife that he's willing to sacrifice his life, surrender his life, give up his life for his spouse. So the second pillar is love. So the first one is what I call revelation of marriage.
Okay.
Number two is love. The third pillar of marriage is what I call adjustments. Nobody marries that doesn't have to adjust themselves. You can't be effective married without change. You have to change in many ways. For example, one of the changes is that you have to accept your partner the way they are, not the way they're going to be. You love them the way they are. You make adjustments. When you become this, I love you, that's adjustments. And the way Jesus presented that is that you have to count the cost before you marry. The fourth pillar of marriage is actually expectation. Having proper expectation. This is a pillar of marriage. And I mentioned two more pillars. The other one is endurance, which is more like adjustment. You have to endure your marriage to enjoy your marriage. You have to accept your spouse. Endurance. You have to accept them the way they are. So sometimes we call it the law of allowance. It's when people marry and they are trying to change their partner, they run into a lot of problems. Nobody can change anybody. The only person you can change is yourself. The final pillar of marriage is that, just as men and men, it's only yourself you can change. The final pillar of marriage is that you have to work the hardest on yourself.
Both partners or?
No, you have to work the hardest on yourself. If you want to have a good marriage takes good work. A pillar of a good marriage is hard work. That not that your partner should work hard, that you have to work the hardest on. Even if your partner is not working on themselves, it's not your business. You don't even go and be teaching them how to work hard. Work the hardest on yourself.
That means the man and the woman should work the hardest on themselves.
I don't know that the other part. I'm saying that I'm talking to you. I know I'm saying that so that you don't have stress. Work the hardest on yourself.
Okay.
Work the hardest on yourself. You made me lose my train of thought. I'm serious. Work the hardest on yourself. Whether your partner is working hard, so working hard, it's not your business. I now remember my train of thought. Marriage is not 50-50. It's a mistake. You take full responsibility for your marriage. Your partner is doing their part, wonderful. They are not working, wonderful. You accept full responsibility for the success of your marriage. If you realize they contribute, they should. But even if they don't contribute, work so hard and accept full responsibility. Don't be waiting for the other 50. Give 115% of yourself to your marriage. Can I say something else about pillar of marriage? In marriage, God said, a man shall leave father and mother and be joined to his wife. The man God had in the picture when he designed marriage is not the man most people are. That's why they can't succeed. That man does not cheat. That man is not self-centered. That man is not selfish. That man does not count error. The man that God is talking about, a man That man is selfless. That man is dead to himself. That man is willing to give all he has to his spouse. That man is willing to surrender his whole life. That man is malleable. That man is humble. That man is yielded. That man knows God. That man hears from God. That man walks with God. That man fears God. Most men are not that. They can't succeed in marriage.
Wow.
Because they're not the man God was talking about. They can't succeed. Unless they change, there'll be no change in their marriage. People go to court. People divorce. I'm going ahead of myself because they're not that man or that woman. Because instead of people, some people fast and pray to say, I'm sorry. They're not the man God is talking about. The man that God meant in the marriage says, I'm sorry before they pray, before they think. They say, oh, I'm so sorry. It's part of their life. Because that man is humble. That man is simple. That man is dying of his own ego. That man is not wearing ego like an external jacket and say, how can I apologize to my wife? How can I talk like that? And also vice versa, the woman that God is talking about, that woman is not the woman that uses sex to punish the husband. That's not the woman God was talking about. We're talking about a woman that was selfless. The woman that God was talking about in the Bible, when it talks about marriage, is a woman that is available for her husband, follows her husband, respects her husband, honors her husband, does not challenge her husband, helps her husband to succeed. That woman is a helper to her husband. It's not somebody that just likes to argue and be saying women are territorial. What does that mean? So, pillars for a successful marriage, in summary, is first, the understanding of the concept and law of marriage, the revelation knowledge that marriage is God's big idea. That's a pillar. Because if you consider marriage as being cultural, as being Igbo, Yoruba, Indian, or Brazilian, you're going to run into a lot of problems. BMW is a German machine. It's not Italian, it's German. The spare parts are with the factory. Marriage is God's idea. The spare parts, if you're going to succeed in marriage, you have to listen to God. That's one. Number two, the lubricant for marriage is a pillar, is love. A marriage without love cannot make it. But what is love? Love is not an emotion. Love is a tough choice. Love is deciding to not only please your partner, but to seek their highest good at your own cost and expense. Every day, you have to seek the highest good of your partner at your cost and expense. Selflessness. That's what it is. In marriage, it's not about you. The third pillar of marriage, as I mentioned, may not be as sequenced, is that you have to remember that you work the hardest on yourself. Don't be waiting for your partner to become somebody before you love them. You love them the way you met them, not the way they're going to be. Don't say, if you can just be a little taller, go and marry somebody taller. Don't disturb anybody. This is my wife, or my husband is careless. He's always looking for his key. Now, the man, when they look for key, now you marry. Now him go love. As he's looking for his key, you love him. You found his key, you love him. You didn't find his key, you have to love him. The way he is, where he is going to be. Another important pillar of marriage is that it's about adjustments. Let me explain. Anybody that is not willing to adjust themselves should not marry. Because if you remain the way you are, you're going to have a lot of problems. So marriage is about adjusting yourself, adjusting yourself, adjusting yourself. And then the other pillar of marriage we mentioned is endurance. You endure your marriage to enjoy your marriage. You have to endure a lot of things. It's not everything you see you talk about. There are certain things in marriage, there's no way to say them without causing trouble. You don't tell an adult, you don't know how to close door. The house where they burn, you know the closed door. The moment you say your house is on fire, to be burning, and the fire, if you don't control it, it consume you with it. There are certain things you don't say. You don't say that, or your wife cooks, and you open your mouth and say, there's too much salt. You can't cook your own now. You can't say that. If you like, you can borrow from Pastor Deboye, who said you can tell your wife, after you have finished eating, not before. He said, it looks like today, the salt was cheaper in the market. Or it looks like the salt is on sale. Something like that. Yes. You have to be careful. In other words, learning to talk. is an important segment or an important part of a successful marriage. You can't talk anyhow. You can't be careless. The Bible makes a statement. It says women are the weaker vessel. I don't think it means that they are weak physically. It means that the way they are structured by God, words have more impact on them than men. See, we're men. If we go to eat in a restaurant as men, we can't be talking. You say, Odenier. Or you say, your mother too, Ode. It's not a way. I don't say that. But when you say that, people laugh over it. It doesn't stop them from eating. And when they leave where they're eating, it doesn't mean anything. If you say to a woman, yeah, this, yeah, that, she will turn it over and over. She may not recover from those words because her nature, those words mean much more. And when they're negative, they affect the person. So a woman needs support from her husband, not criticism. But anybody can criticize. All of us have done it. So nobody's perfect. So if you see somebody doing well, they have worked hard on themselves. So you have to make the adjustment, you have to endure. And then the other thing to talk about marriage, I think I've said it, that every good marriage is good work. Not just the work you work on yourself, you work on your marriage. So every time you see a couple and they're happy, don't think because both of them are working hard. It could be only one person carrying the whole load. So marriage is not 50-50. It's from you, 150%. Your spouse puts in something, accept it. If they don't put in, carry the marriage. Yes, you go out with your wife. You know, I'm a man, so I focus on men very hardly. Go out with your wife, you protect her. You go to visit your in-laws and they're talking anyhow, you protect your wife. You don't let anybody, talk anyhow, or somebody come to visit without telling you they're coming. Because you have to tell your wife. Because you're used to people visiting. You have your spouse now. Somebody was saying the other day, the women are territorial. Well, you have to say, my brother is coming tomorrow. Hope it's okay. But you're the one that paid the rent. But it's now her house, her kitchen. The brother can come. She refused to enter the kitchen. Your brother will not chop food. It's either you have your brother or you have your marriage. Choose one. But the main point I'm making is that whenever the marriage is working, it's hard work. Somebody is working hard and it's not 50-50.
Are there different types of marriage?
No. They are only different human beings. When you say different types, kill me. You must have something in mind. Tell me, what do you mean by different types of marriage?
I'm just thinking like Indian type of marriage.
What?
Indian type of
Indian?
Marriage. Yes, that you said women marry the men.
Okay.
So, and then typical, the normal one that we know that men marries women. So, what kind of difference is in that type of marriage?
I see where you're coming from. Well, I think that I like to follow simple rules. Jesus said, therefore, a man shall leave his father and his mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. I believe from God's perspective, there's one type of marriage. Marriage is God's big idea, not man's. Don't let men deceive you. When they say culture, according to my culture, when a man is talking, a woman is not talking. Bury your culture is useless before God. It has no value. Men and women are equal in marriage. There's something like that. When man talk, woman talk. That's the way God's way. They are partners. Yeah, they are partners. These are equal partners with different roles. He says the man, head, the woman, you follow. In a company, you have MD, you have DMD. The DMD is not inferior to the MD. It's just that the MD is just MD now. Tomorrow, the MD may retire. DMD becomes MD. So it's not permanent. They're partners.
Now, what are the common problems in marriage?
Oh, there's so many. Unhealthy expectations. People marry and they're expecting heaven and earth. People marry and their expectations are not pragmatic. Number two, I can explain that further if you want. Number two, lack of preparation before marriage. Nobody becomes a doctor by osmosis or by accident. Many people marry. They didn't even prepare for marriage. They didn't even know the expectations in marriage, the roles in marriage. They're surprised. They don't prepare. Other common problems are too much internet, too much social media. Some people, they read, there's a book, when I was in secondary school, our colleagues, the girls, they used to read one book called Mills and Bone. I don't know. Those people, they are just painting the picture of a man that doesn't exist. Or women, Cinderella. Some people have Cinderella mentality. They think they're just floating around.
Why is it too much internet? What are you trying to say?
People are watching too much social media where the people that have major problems are posting as if everything is okay. So they call it. Don't let social media deceive you. But I don't want to lose my train of thought. The world has changed significantly. Many women are more empowered than previous generations. Many women, or some women, earn more money than their husbands. But there was a world where women didn't even go to work. There's a generation where they didn't go to work. There was a time women were like property. That's not God's idea, but they were married like property. The richer a man got, the more wives he married. That means it was property. It's like, I think I can marry again now. You go and bring somebody. Number 7, number 6, number 3. However, things have changed. And so, that's what they call woman rights, feminism, which is very ungodly. People are struggling for who is in charge. They say that men and women are equal. Yes, in a sense, in partnership. But in God's design, He says, I will give you a help meet for you. In marriage, God created the woman to help the man achieve a God-given goal. They are not supposed to struggle. Who is in charge? You make money, I make money, and those kind of things. And the struggle. In marriage, you find people struggling. My car, my house. That's not a marriage language. It's our car, our house. When my wife ends, depending on where you are. When I first got married with my wife, she earned money, she put it in my account, right? But now where we are is that a day came, I opened an account, I gave her access to my account. It belongs to us. I don't have access to her account. I don't ask for it. I don't say, how much do you earn? What are you going to do? No. If she wants to contribute, fine. I am a man. I want to carry my home. Yes, I want to be responsible for my home. I want to take care of my wife, my children, and so on and so forth. You may not always have all the resources, but you want to be responsible. So it's a problem in marriage when the marriage is competitive instead of complementary. It's a problem. It's a problem in marriage where people are struggling. Who owns what? Those are common problems in marriage. But the biggest ones are lack of preparation, unhealthy expectations, the changing culture which is intruding into marriage. Where you have feminism, all these arguments, even have same-sex marriage, all those kind of things. They're bad. They're not God's idea. And God has not changed. He's the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Okay, I want to ask you this question is pregnant. In the time of God, they say marriages last more longer than this period. So I don't know how true that is. That's number one. And if that is true, why do you think marriages of old last longer than now? Do you think this development and all of that has created more problems for marriage, or it's supposed to help marriage to last longer?
Those are great questions, but I want to give you the history of marriage. That's what they call the dating game. Dating is an American invention of the 20th century. It was the result of urbanization. As America urbanized, people no longer met in homes where they were supervised by parents. They met in cinemas, movie theaters, where there was no supervision. So people had started having boyfriend and girlfriend. They called it dating. They even had terminology like going steady. That means you have a friend, you're a friend for a long time. But here was the challenge with dating. Dating was man's answer to a divine dilemma. In other words, dating was man trying to say, whom do I marry? When I was growing up, we call it tumbum tumbum. You don't know who to marry, you say, I try. It didn't work, I tried it. So people dated. When they disagreed, they quarreled, they separated. Most times, the person dated your best friend next time. That friend that used to hang out with when you dated, that's next date and so on and so forth. So people change dates as single people. Eventually, it led to increased divorce because people started changing mates the way they change dating friends. That's an American invention. So America has the highest divorce rates in the whole world because they have the highest dating in the whole world. They taught the world to date. But what people didn't know is that dating is not the way you find a spouse. Your spouse is an integral part of your destiny. You get your spouse from God, not from the dating app and all those things. Now, do people meet on the app and marry? Yes. Does it work? Sometimes, yes. But what's God's idea about marriage? He says, I will give you a help meet for you. He that findeth a wife findeth a good thing. Now, somebody might ask, how do you find a spouse? Because I'm asking the question, why is there increase in failed marriage, which is divorce? But people are not just failing marriage, they are remarrying. It's not even that people have a problem, they separated, and everybody's single and just, counting their calls. People they don't separate, they actually remarry. In fact, marriages are breaking down because people are having relationships. It's not just failing. It's that somebody is married and is interested in somebody else. And while we are talking, it has moved out and moved in. That's what's going on most of the time. So, but that is a modern invention. Marriage was never meant to be broken down. Divorce is man's idea, not God's idea. There's no divorce in the nature of God. There's no divorce in heaven. It's not a word spoken in heaven. It's an earthly language invented between Moses and the children of Israel. That's what the Bible tells us in Matthew 19. Because he said, why did Moses ask us to give a bill of divorcement to our wives? Because they said to Jesus, can a man divorce his wife for every cause? He paused. He was surprised. He paused. He said, have you never read that he who made them at the beginning made them male and female? And for this cause a man shall leave father and mother and be joined to his wife, the two. They are no longer to their one. And what God has joined together, let no man put asunder. People are putting asunder. And their basis for putting asunder, I know one bishop, I know one man of God that put asunder. What they have not remembered and reminded themselves, the person you are copying has not been to heaven and back. He's a human being.
Now, there's problem with some of these things you're saying that I want to address, because most people have talk about these things.
Sure.
Now, I've heard that you said marriage is between leave your
father and mother.
Cleave unto your
I didn't say. I said the Bible
says, and
yes.
these two shall become one. And
Yes.
you said, whatever be it, there is no divorce.
No. You have to be quoting the Bible.
Okay. The Bible said there is no divorce. No, because you have put on it. That's the reason why I'm trying to get my clients from it.
But you know who said it?
God said it.
Jesus.
Jesus said
So,
it.
do you have a problem with it?
You know what? There's something I want to bring them, because even Jesus,
But remember that when you're bringing it in, it's Jesus that will answer you.
is Jesus too. I will still bring inside.
I'm listening.
Jesus.
I speak for Jesus.
The way he said that, except on the basis of infidelity.
No, Jesus said.
So that is what he said.
Yes.
So
Yes.
Is that permissible enough to divorce your wife?
Is that permissible? No,
Yes.
we understand the nature of marriage. Marriage is a covenant between two people. The moment you have an affair with somebody, you have broken the covenant and released your covenant partner.
So divorce can happen.
If the man doesn't have enough grace to forgive, it doesn't mean it must happen. It means that, look, we have a covenant, and you bring land, I bring salt. You didn't bring your salt, I can bring my land. You broke the agreement. So what Jesus was saying is that this is a covenant between two people. That when somebody goes outside of marriage and has a relation with somebody, the person has broken that covenant, and the other party is free to move on. I don't know about remarrying. Because those are two different things.
Okay, what do you say about a spouse that is facing an abuse at home? Do you think
You can separate them, but you don't have the power to ask any of them to remarry. Listen, they're beating your sister. Go to the house, take your sister out. She has to remain unmarried. The man has to remain unmarried. The moment she married, she's an adulterer. She has a standing marriage that has a problem. She's not released from the marriage. Can I say something? Marriage is God's idea, not man's. You are thinking like a human being. You are being logical. God is not logical. God is God.
because things are happening already regarding marriage?
Yes, but God is in charge.
Okay, you separate them and the man goes his own way. Are you
Sure.
saying the woman too cannot go her own way?
What is her own way? She's married.
Remarried on that person.
Well, she can, but she will bear the consequences at the end of time. And the people that join her in marriage, they will be joined to the matter. Have you ever gone to court? If you join yourself to a matter you don't know anything about, I want to counsel you, never follow anybody to divorce, because you're joining yourself to a matter that has more consequences than you can imagine. At the end of time, you can't stand before God. You think that God is a man. You can't stand before a judge. How much of a man? At the end of time, God will tell them, repeat yourself. Say it again. You say, I dissolve this man. He said, you, I'm God. I rule in the affairs of men. I'm a terrible fire. I'm a consuming fire. God is not a man. This is not man's idea. You can't be tampering what is beyond you. You can't do what you like. Somebody says, yeah. You're just talking. You're a man. You can't challenge God. You can't. Look, God says, this is paper. If you tear the paper, the consequences are irreparable. America is facing gun issues in their schools. Watch the news. People are shooting people. They're debating it in the house. You know what the problem is? Broken homes. They've lost it forever. Nothing is likely to change that. They have homes led by single mothers, single fathers. A home should have a father and a mother. I'm married. When I come home, I don't talk. My home comes into order. The children know daddy is around. You can't be challenging mommy when daddy is there. When daddy is not there, you can be playing, checking the boundaries. I want to see whether I can push my mother. Yes, every teenager tries their mother. No teenager tries their father. Why? Father is bone to bone. If you try a man, he beat you up. It might sound outrageous. You can't see a towering figure like Kingsley. He comes to the house. He has said, I'm 12 years. I want to try. You can try it with your mom. Yes.
Some people will say their moms are more aggressive than the father.
Yes, but the people know how to get around their mom. It's not the aggression, it's the father, the mother. If after all the aggression, they're agreeable. All my children, they know how to get around my wife. She's their best friend. They'll be playing with her, they'll start arguing. They say, Mommy, what? But they love her and she loves them. That's not the problem. The point I'm making is this. I'm trying to say something. God designed the home to have two parents, a father and a mother. The roles are different, but they're very important.
Why I'm saying this is because like the recent story that happened, recent issue that happened of what's that her name again? The woman that died.
I know what you're talking about.
Osinachi. Yes. That woman beat dead. Are you saying that? And she was quiet about it till she died before the news came out.
Did you follow the story?
I have followed the story to some extent.
Do you know how many times people intervened? She said they shouldn't talk.
That is exactly what
I'm
saying.
Sister, don't let it know.
Yes, that's
so,
exactly
so can I explain it to you? Can I explain?
Okay, let me land a little bit.
Sure.
Are you saying that with that experience that she's going through, the way she kept telling people, don't bother, don't tell anybody, and she lives with it till he kills her in it? Are you saying that should be what every woman should do, or people should do within the marriage, even though they are facing different forms of things in the marriage? They should remain in there no matter what.
So I have preached on this a little bit in more than one place, maybe 3 times, 4 times more. So Osinachi could have gone to market to buy fish and never came back, and nothing will happen. She could have gone to market to buy fish and never came back to her house. Nothing will happen. The husband will follow her to her house and say, what are you doing here? You say, tell my parents what you are doing. If you want me to come back, make commitment that you will not touch me again. She never did that. You know why? She was SU. She belonged to the people that were taught that you manage your husband. Don't leave your home. If you leave your home, you have lost your marriage. She forgot. And they forgot to teach them that you have to be alive to marry. My sister is SU. My sister would do exactly the same thing if the husband was beating her. But thank God. CU, Christian Union. People that gave their life to Christ. In secondary school, we call them SU, which is Scripture Union. In university, I think they are Christian Union. That means that they gave their life to Christ very early in life. And they taught them loyalty and obedience and submission. But they didn't always deal with the issue of abuse. This is what I think, right? Osinachi had an abusive husband. She wouldn't have stayed in that marriage that long. She could have walked away. But let me tell you the complexes. You see, some of the people, some of maybe Christian leaders who might say, oh, she should have walked away. If Osinachi walked away, they will not invite her to their churches.
That's exactly
they say she's a separated woman.
Yes, that's exactly
so that's also part of the load she was carrying.
Yes.
But what should have happened is that if a partner is abusive, those who are spiritual can go to that marriage and take the abuse out. But none of them will have the right to tell the abuse to remarry. They can save the life. They can dissolve, not even dissolve the relation, they can separate them. The onus is on the abuser to change and make commitment. And if they don't have to, the other person has to stay separated. Because Paul talked about that. So there are conditions for a marriage, but the condition for the marriage is not that they're beating you. The person beating you has not broken the marriage covenant. They are just abusing the marriage, and you should not stay in that marriage. You shouldn't. Because they don't need to beat you to death. So I said to myself, and I said to people, I said, Osinachi should have gone to buy fish and never came home. Yes. She just go to buy fish and she go home from there. The other wait, after some days, she will start looking for her. And said, can you call us? I'm in my father's house. Come and see me. You come and see and say, what do you want? You come home to do what? You're beating me. People don't know. Why was she ashamed to admit that the husband was beating her? Why was she asking you to come out? Because she's maybe Christian Union. She thought it's a thing of shame. It's not a thing of shame. Don't be afraid of your experiences. One of the ways you find your calling in life is by acknowledging your experiences, both positive and negative. a white beater does not qualify to marry. One of the conditions for being a bishop is that he's not a striker. You know what that means? That means you don't beat your wife. America for 200 years plus did not elect a divorced man as president because they took their cue from the Bible. The president is like a bishop of the country. You cannot be, if you can't keep your home, you can't keep the nation. Yes. So in modern times, you have American presidents that are multiple divorced. You know why? Because America is a backsliding nation. They are backsliding compared to colonial America. In modern times, you have people who are in office who married same people. Do you know why? Because they're backsliding nation.
Why do you think they backsliding?
Because they preach a different gospel. The gospel of the kingdom is a gospel of responsibility. They preach gospel of prosperity, which is the richer you are, the more God you have. The church is God's agent for maintaining order in society. The oldest corporation in America is Harvard University. It was founded in 1636 by Puritan preachers who named it after John Harvard, who died in 1638, who left his estate for Harvard of about 400 pounds. The first graduates of Harvard University were Puritan preachers who were taught that what preserves a society are values. When a society loses its values, it's lost everything. A woman should not die in marriage. Abusive means potentially you can be killed. Morality says, why would you stay to be killed? You have to live. To be married, you have to be alive. If you are killed in marriage, what are you living for?
If she's young and the man, and she decides to leave, and the man will not decide to come back to her, so you mean she should remain like that, or she can go and remarry?
Those questions you're asking are humanistic. They are human. They are human. Life is deeper than that. Can I tell you something? You don't need to marry to go to heaven. You don't need to marry to succeed in life. Marriage is not by force. Jesus taught about marriage. The two places he taught about marriage, when he was done, his disciples said, if it be the case, a man should not marry. You teach about marriage. People are eager to get, people are hurrying. You're having marriage seminar. People are getting married in a hurry. It means you're teaching error. If you teach marriage the way God saw it, the way God designed it, nobody should marry in a hurry. Why? Marriage is a journey of no return. When you commence the journey, there's no going back. It's a journey of no return. Marriage is a journey of no return. You don't marry with intent. If it doesn't work, I back off. It's not in the Bible. What God has joined together, let no man put asunder. They are beating her. Somebody can take her out, but that person lacks the power to command her to remain. You don't have the power. You're not God.
So what can you say can you list 5 principles of living an effective marriage?
Wow, that's a powerful question. Very powerful. I can tell you what they are. Number 1, in God's agenda for marriage, the person that gets married is a man who fears God. May not be perfect, but they're seeking God. So the first principle is that everybody that wants to succeed in marriage, they have to have a heart for God. They have to, if they don't have, they have to aspire to be the kind of person that can be married by another person. Do you know that by ourselves, without external help, we're difficult? You argue with yourself. When you marry, a second person involved, you can't make things difficult for them. Humble yourself. Make life easy. Don't be the kind of person that people are tiptoeing in the house. When you are coming back, when the children hear the sound of the footsteps, they scatter.
That's number 1.
So that's number 1. Number 2 is that, what's the word?
What's the key of that number 1?
The key is that the more Christ-like you're becoming, the more you qualify to marry. Christ-likeness, yes. Number 2 is that you shouldn't marry without preparation. Preparation. Look, as you service your car, so you should service your life. As you prepare somebody to be a doctor, so you prepare to become married. Because marriage is as important in school as the school of medicine. As you go to school of pharmacy, so you should go to school of marriage. School of engineering, school of marriage. Marriage is a school. It's an institution. That's number 2.
How can someone go to that school?
That's one of the roles of the church. The church should be God's agency on earth to prepare people for life, including marriage. Every church should have a school of marriage, not giving counseling to people that are getting married. They should have a school of marriage that prepares you for marriage before you even start to get married. Not this complaining, they've already chosen dates and they're telling us. Why did they choose dates? What did you teach them? You are wrong. You didn't teach them. That's why they chose dates. They don't know anything. You teach them. I went to a university Nobody applies to graduate before time. But in church, people apply to marry before time because they don't teach in university. From the day you step in, they have a school, a system of education. You can't just say in year 3, I'm applying, I want to graduate before year 5. There's something like that. The policy is clear. So that's number 2. Number 3, principles for effective marriage is that you have to learn to talk. If you want to be happy in marriage, go to school of vocalization. The church also teach that. They're not teaching. Can I say something to you? He that is slow to anger is better than the mighty. He that ruleth his spirit than he that taketh a city. He that does not offend in words, the same is a perfect man. When you marry, you learn to bite your tongue. You want to say something, because that thing you want to say, when you say it, the next 3 days your house is on fire. You can't call your wife and be talking anyhow as if she's your maid. You can't raise your voice against your wife or vice versa. You can't be shouting at your spouse. They're not your maid, they're not your houseboy. That's your partner. So when you're angry, you go to shower, take a shower, calm down. Come and sit down. Yes. I was talking to a wonderful woman of God. She said her husband, they had, what was it? Something they bought in the house that was spoiled. They only bought it through his aides. And when she saw it, she said, it's for my house. How can my aides be buying things for me? My husband's aides. So she was not happy. She was going to enter the room. She was telling me, going to enter the room to tell the husband, but the Holy Spirit forced her. And instead of saying, why? He said, I came to thank you for the thing you bought. Powerful. She's very sensitive to God. So number 3, learn how to talk. Another essential of a good marriage, if you ask me. Yes, 5. Another one is, I call it, there's so many, but I'll give you 5. Family meetings.
Family meetings.
Yes. Means that when you marry, have regular meetings, scheduled meetings with your spouse. Not when there is trouble. Just maybe once a week, once in 2 months, just come, say, you go out to eat. Can even call it dating. I encourage husband and wife to date. I don't encourage single people to date. But let's leave that. So I say, take your wife on a date. I say, honey, as you're eating, is there anything I'm doing you don't like? Please tell me now we're eating, not when you're angry. Vice versa. Hey, the other day, this. I didn't know. You talk. You share. I call it family meeting. Since my family was young, I have meetings with my children and my wife. We meet. It's not a perfect family, but family meeting. Okay? The other essential of marriage, what I've mentioned in passage, because you said 5, I gave so many, is that if marriage that work, the husband and wife must actually spend quality time with each other. They must learn the several levels of communication. They must schedule retreats together, vacation together, where they're spending quality time, making investments in each other. They actually must deliberately, intentionally make each other best friend. Let me explain. My wife is my best friend, but it's not automatic. It's intentional. I choose to make her my best friend. How do you make somebody your best friend? It's the way you spend time with the person, what you think about the person. If my wife offends me or has offended me, I don't think about it. It's not important. I think about the best times we've had, the good times we've had. Her picture is my DP. Even if I use my picture after when I go back to her picture. Now, she's my best friend because I share my life with her. I call her every day. The other day we were doing something and she said, oh, don't call me again. She was not happy. I wrote her, why? I said, do you want me to die? I must call you every day. You're my wife. You're my best friend. She started laughing. She's my best friend. It's a choice. If you think about somebody so often, they'll become your best friend. People flirt or commit adultery or have an affair because they're thinking about the wrong person. Yes, it's a law. What you think about, you become. What you think about, you act upon. If you think about your wife or your spouse, your husband, you start and focus on the positive good things. You have good feelings towards that person. Don't think about their weaknesses, think about their strength, how a blessing that they are. So that's 5. Because number 4 is have meetings. Go out. Number 5, I said, when I said number 5, I said that I do not encourage single people to date. Date your spouse. Not meetings. I said number 4 is having meeting. Number 5 is go out with your best friend, with your spouse. In other words, schedule regular times of outing where you relax, where you go out with the person, enjoy that. If you have children, hire people to look after your children if they're young. If they're old enough, tell them, lock the door, don't come out. Daddy and mommy are out. If there's a problem, call us. I can give so many more. Okay. Pillars of it, or what they call building an effective marriage. Yes, and don't forget, I don't know if I mentioned it as an entity, communication. Not just talking right. I'm saying effective communication. No marriage can be effective without effective communication. Not just the way you talk, but how you talk and when you talk and the way you, and all this. Just communication. You have to talk effectively. The other thing that's important about marriage is money. We don't talk about money. Let me just do 2 more. You want 5? Let's make it 7. Money, finances. Somebody made a comment implying that romance needs to be funded. That's what they use for money. I can't remember, but I wrote it down. But basically, you have to remember that it is very difficult and hard to have romance without money. You need money, not a lot of money, but you need some chicken, some food, some stuff. So I would say that money, the way you handle money as a family, money is one of the biggest reasons people fight in marriage. Money. And men are very aggressive when they don't have. And that's when they say, we just bought oil last week. What happened to it? But if they have money, say, oh, you want oil, so buy more. Yes. So you have to train yourself not to be aggressive because you don't have money. Because if you don't train yourself, you're going to be extremely aggressive when you don't have money. Yes, it's natural. You're just trying to. So what you do is that don't let it control the atmosphere of your home. Relax. Plan. Discuss money. Grow in money. A husband and wife should have a joint account, but it's not automatic. It's by maturity. You can't just marry. Somebody is going to blow all the money. Somebody is going to be coming back on the road and branch and use all the money and buy one item because of lack of maturity and lack of control. So you grow into it. You don't assume you are mature enough to take all your resources and put it together. Because if you put it together and have equal access, somebody is going to make one decision. So when people are working together, they have to have some ground rules. Nobody makes a certain level of purchase without communication and approval from each other. Those are all things about money. The final thing I'll say, because of time, I talked about money, is sex, intimacy. There's no marriage that can succeed without sex. Impossible. Sex is God's idea. It's not a dating game. There's a way you grow up. You think, but sex is not automatic. It's learned. You have to read and study and go to school to learn. You can't have Papa Bomboy and Ma Bomboy and succeed in marriage. If there's no romance, that marriage is dead. Part of romance is intimacy in the bedroom. You have to live your life in a way that is as if you have met your spouse for the very first time every time you come together. If you get used to it, you're done. There are rules of engagement. Part of those rules, of course, the Bible is a decent book. There's a way it talks about these things. It doesn't just call it anyhow, use vulgar language. No. It says every man should drink water of their own cistern. It's talking about relationship, intimacy in the bedroom. Nobody takes fire in his bosom and his feet not be burned. Or no, and his hand not be burned. Nobody walks upon hot coals and the feet not be burned. It's talking about passion. Passion. Don't provoke a woman's passion without a plan. You see the girls in the University of Lagos and some of these places, men just go there and be behaving anyhow. They don't understand the passion of a woman. The woman is by herself, you leave her. If you provoke her, she can consume you. So here is the point. When it comes to bedroom and intimacy, is learned behavior must be honored, respected. There are processes. It has to be prepared for. You have to put value on it. Look, it is one of the things you do in marriage. Your marriage is dead. If it's not something you plan for, enjoy, look forward to, you're just casual about intimacy in the bedroom, something is terribly wrong with your marriage. I cannot guarantee that it will make it. Because one of the things God used to oil your marriage is that intimacy. Because There are many reasons, and I'll pause. For a woman to give of her body to a man, it's not that easy. Ask any woman.
But is this inheritance?
No. You are thinking it is. What makes you think? Because of prostitution? Do you know that prostitutes in VI, they don't come back during the day, they come back at night. They come out at night. But in VI, I worked in VI for years. They don't come by 12 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. They come by 6, 7. Because they're saying that decent men have gone home. It's people that are evil are still in the office. Let them come. We're all together. Yes. It's not that easy. Have you ever met a prostitute? Everybody comes. I have met prostitutes. I have discipled, pastored prostitutes. I have met women that said, I gave my body because I lacked money to look after family. I met a woman in South Africa. She said to me, I was a virgin. I was violated, raped. And I said, if God cannot protect me, why should I? I threw caution to the winds. Yes. From virgin to prostitution. From virginity. Yes. She said, if God couldn't, I have worked with many, not one. I used to work with them. And they told me stories. Those are decent people that life threw a curveball. So don't think it's easy for a woman to give up her body. It's not that easy. It's never without a cause.
Okay, now you mentioned I asked for 5, you gave me 7 principles of building an effective marriage. So I want to ask more 5 differences. What are the 5 things that you think pollutes marriage?
Pollutes marriage? I will start again. Unreasonable expectations. Number 2, internet. I know I used to work with a couple. They're my friends. The man watches too much internet and wants to practice with his wife what he's watching without his wife.
That's pornography.
Yes. And some it's not just pornography. It could be, that's what it is. But, imagination. You're imagining by yourself all kinds of things. But you're not carrying your wife along. You come to the bedroom, you want to practice them. It can pollute your marriage. Because the woman may not be prepared for that, or vice versa. Other things, culture. In-laws, outlaws. You don't know how to manage your in-laws or your siblings. You can't be married to a wife and your siblings will come to the house and be commandeering her. It means you are weak. Your mother cannot be talking to your spouse anyhow. You caution her. It doesn't take caution. You order Uber to take her to her husband's house. You tell your mother, this is my house, not your husband's house. Go to your husband. It's your mother, yes. One of my mentors says that when his sister came to his house, I was troubling his wife. He told her, if you don't behave, I will rent house for you alone. Just live there. Don't try my wife. Yes, I like that. Those are positions. In-laws, outlaws.
One of the sole commandments said, respect your father and your mother.
Sure. Yes, you respect your father and mother. If your mother comes to your house and doesn't know her boundaries, doesn't know that she is in the house of a young couple, a new entity in society that she should respect, and she's crossing it, it's not disrespectful to actually order a car to take her home where she belongs. It's not. You're doing what is right to do. Yes, believe me. Because it's not that the way you do it is important, but just know that you can't just have a house without order. It pollutes marriages. The other thing that can pollute marriage, it's what I may call waywardness. When a person is in marriage and is looking outside of marriage. I've met sometimes, maybe once in my life, I met a woman who for some strange reason just kept looking at men outside of her home. It just didn't make sense. But it polluted the marriage. I mentioned a 15 that pollutes marriage. I don't know if I've mentioned a man watching this and that and that. But a home where people are not controlling what they are taking in. Just the whole family, not just husband, children. Children go out and they are copying what's outside, bringing it back to the home. It can pollute the home. I always pray for the family that I am of. I said, nothing evil will enter this house. So, I don't know if I mentioned that, like culture, like people wearing clothes that expose their body, defying and ignoring the purpose of clothing. Do you know why clothes were designed? To cover nakedness. Every time you wear something that doesn't cover nakedness, it's abusive. The abuse of the use of clothes. You can't wear clothes that show cleavages, mini skirts that show your legs. You go to church, you can't sit in front.
What about the ones that covers but very tight?
Same problem. It's showing your shape. Your shape is not meant for everybody, it's meant for your spouse.
But the shape is meant to attract the spouse.
If that's how you want to marry, you marry the wrong man. If you marry a man you are attracted by the wrong dressing, just know that after he has married you, he's still going to be chasing women. You have made a choice. Because more shapely women are coming. The beautiful ones are not yet born. So you can't marry like that. You have to marry by values, not just your body. You can marry by your body. When the person is tired of your body, the other body is out there. What are you going to do?
That's true. Now, you mentioned in-laws and outlaws.
Sure.
What are the rules of in-laws in marriage, in couples marriage?
I think it has to do with maturity and understanding. He said, a man shall leave father and mother and be joined to his wife. It's a kind of a bit of a challenge because he now says, how do I look after my parents if I leave them? But I think there's a healthy balance that you honor your parents, but each time a couple is coupled, they become a new entity in human society. Wise parents should back off without being neglected. In other words, there's what you call interference in marriage. You can't call, your daughter cannot be married. You call her and say, don't tell your husband, I want to tell you something. I was trained that when they say that, you call your husband and say, come and hear. They say, I shouldn't tell you, but come. The person will be ashamed. You don't do that. It's not okay. Don't tell your wife. Don't tell your wife. This is just me and I'm your mother. I want to tell you something. But your son is married. It's not okay. Anything your spouse should really not know. Should you really be knowing that? There may be exceptions and boundaries. But the point I'm making is that when people are mature, they aid the marriage. They do not impair the marriage. They don't separate husband and wife. They encourage them to become one. If you're a mother and your daughter gets married, your daughter's husband is your son. Don't treat her like your daughter and treat him like a stranger. Treat him like your son. And you have a son. How do you treat your son? Treat your daughter's husband, your son-in-law, as a son. He's your son by law. He's your son by marriage. View those kind of healthy relationships so that it's health. Sure.
Now, what's your view on about proxy marriage?
Proxy marriage. What is that?
That is marrying a spouse without a spouse presence.
Without a spouse presence.
Yes.
What is the basis of the marriage? How did they get to know each other?
They knew each other, but probably the spouse is not available or is not around or has traveled, and then they just have to do a marriage somewhere and then.
I don't have a problem with that if the purpose is to bring them together. Yes, that is. He's not able to come. We are married. Come and meet your husband. I'm married. Yes, it's not. I mean, life is by principles. What it means is that so there's a reason why the person is not there, but the purpose of the marriage is to bring them together, which is the marriage itself. Yes, it's not better than the reverse, where they are together but they're little apart, and they have no plan to come together. Sure.
Okay. Now, how does culture affect marriage?
In many ways, the Bible says that Jesus said, "You have exalted your culture above the world." Culture affects marriage because culture can be so strong that it displaces the word of God. Like when you have a culture that says when a man is talking, a man should not talk. Not in the church. Because in Corinthians, Paul wrote, and he was trying to imply that women are talking to their husband while service is going on. He says, no, stop it. Ask him at home, not during the service. But he didn't say if a man is talking, a woman should not talk. He just said, don't be talking to your husband when the pastor is preaching. Wait to get home and ask him because you're not. And he said, what did he say? What does he mean by that? And the service is going on. That's too distracting. There are many ways culture. Whenever culture is exalted above the word of God, which is principle, it will affect marriage. Whenever culture is so strong that it's anti-God, against God, it will affect marriage. Culture should only be relevant when it's aligned to God's word.
How do you describe a culture that's aligned with God's word? Because you mean that people should discuss their cultures just because they want to.
I think it's a good question. So why don't you give me an example of a culture?
Example of a culture.
Okay.
Okay, yes, that's what you talked about now. A husband and wife, they are meant for each other one. Some cultures permit multiple marriages, and it's never a crime, and it's never a problem for them. So would you say such a culture should be discarded, or that is not the will of God?
A culture permits multiple marriages. What does it mean? Is it that one woman, several husbands, or one man, several wives?
One man, several wives.
You know they have one woman, several husbands too.
Definitely not in Nigeria.
It exists. They even have a name for it. So listen to me now. God created man in Genesis chapter 1 verse 26. The nature of a woman, she feels violated when she has to share her love for her husband with another woman. Violated.
But in terms of old, some men, even in the Bible, marry not more than one.
And God said, the times of ignorance God winked at, but God is commanding every man to live right. God allowed it, but he had more than one wife. If God allowed it, not because it was right. It was a season in human progress, development. God is saying, a man, not man, a man shall leave father and mother and be joined to his wife, not wives. And the two, not three, not four, not five, but the one flesh.
So what do you say about the scripture that says there will be a point in time where 7 women will choose after one man to say, let us just answer your name ourselves?
That was God showing how the world will be retrogressive. He didn't say it's right, he said it will happen. Not because it's right, but because of human failure. Can I say something to you? The Bible is inspiring, but not everything that is inspired is inspiring. The Bible is inspired, but not everything that is inspiring. In other words, the Bible said David committed adultery with Bathsheba. It happened. It's inspired because it happened. So it's divine inspiration made them to write it. Let me tell you why this is important. When you read biographies and autobiographies, nobody ever did wrong. From the time they were born till they wrote their book, they didn't do wrong. They didn't fail in class because it's not inspired. It's just human beings just painting picture they like. But the Bible wrote about good, evil, bad because it was inspired. But not every story is inspiring. So when you read something from the Bible, it's inspired, but don't repeat everything you see. Because they wrote about the good, the bad, the ugly, so that you learn. You are giving to us for examples upon whom the end of the world is come, so that we know how to behave ourselves, not that we should copy everything.
Okay, for a single man now, what wants to be
For a single
in three phases?
Sure.
For a man and for a woman looking for a spouse, or a woman looking for a spouse, just both of them.
Sure.
What can you say you should look out for when looking for a spouse? What should be an ideal wife and an ideal husband?
When you're looking for a spouse, you should look for 3 things. The will of God for your life. Number 2, the love of God, or love that will last you a lifetime. And number 3, the love of your life. 3 things. Will of God, that means a partner with whom you can spend the rest of your life. It's not part of it. Not that after 20 years you're tired of each other because you're bored. We were never meant to be. The will of God is that the more you progress, the more you're likely to love each other because you're meant to be. God, in other words, what you call will of God means that this is something orchestrated by God. Number 2, love that will last a lifetime. It's not love for today and tomorrow. Love that will last a lifetime. That means that you are going to be together for a long time. And then number 3, love of your life. Somebody you love. You're willing to spend the rest of your life with love of your life. I love you. I even like you. I not only love my wife, I like my wife. I like to hang out with you. I like to go out with you. Let's go and eat. When I come back on a trip, I'll be following her back. She said, why are you following her back? I said, because I like you. You're my friend. I'm going to go outside. I'm coming. I'm coming. I said, let's go together. You're my friend. Love of your life. The love of a lifetime. 22 years after, we're still together. Next month, on the 11th of November, 22 years in marriage. Then the will of God, I'm here preaching. She's not stopping me from obeying God. She encourages me. I've talked to her many times today. You've heard me talk to her back and forth. I was looking for money. I went to send money to her because I don't want her to suffer. Because I love her. She has not said to me, be coming back. Why? You have been gone for too long. She knows I'm doing the will of God. She knows that this is what I was born to do. If you take a fish out of water, it will die. You take the bird out of it will die. If she takes me from the will of God, I will die. I may look like I'm alive, I'll be dead. So those are three things you must look for when you're looking for a spouse.
Now you talked about initially, earlier on you talked about dating. Now you didn't. These three things you listed, you didn't mention dating. So are you saying that dating should be abolished? If you're looking for a wife, just go and pray to God and just grab a wife? Or
I think that people can date according to their level, where they are. What is dating? You're going out with somebody, you're not sure you're going to marry them. You're looking to say, is it the right person? And I'm saying, when people date, they can date for 20 years. You will never know the person. The day you marry them, you know the person. Yes. You're dating somebody. Yeah, really, they know you're dating. Yes, they are. Some people will follow you to church, some men. They even join the choir because of you. I'll be singing. After you marry, they say, if you mention church, I beat you up. Yes, it happens. They stop going to church completely. They came to church to marry you. It's called dating. And after church, after marriage, they don't go to church again. People have said, what? When I met him, he loved God. He didn't love God. He pretended to love God to marry you. Dating is man's idea to find solution about knowing whom to marry. And I'm saying that it's human invention. It's not bad, but it's not enough. A prudent wife is from the Lord.
Now, do you think there are 4 or 5 things couples or those dating should agree on before getting married?
Well, you know my position on dating, but there's what you call courtship. Courtship is the interval between when people agree to marry and when they marry. That interval will last from between 1 day to 6 months, sometimes longer. In that time, the purpose is to familiarize themselves with each other and actually to make sure that there's no reason why you should not be married. So there are several things you talk about. Talk about your future. What kind of future do you desire as a couple? What kind of children would you like to have? Where will you go to church? Where would you live? What is the goal of this family? What will this family be remembered for? How will you raise your children? What kind of schools will they attend? What are your family values? What should this family be remembered for? These are things you talk about. Let me tell you other things to talk about during that period. What kind of a person are you? What makes you angry? What are you going to do to make sure that you don't get offended in this marriage? That you're not irritable? Let me tell you other things to talk about. Do you have existing relationship now that will impair this marriage? Have you annulled them? Settled them? Do you have people that are still hoping you marry them? Settle them. Tell them, I'm getting married. It's not you. Close the book. Not that you still be getting phone calls and people think you're still available when you are engaged and about to get married. Have you had affairs in the past? Have you shut down the door? Did you have a child before this time? Have you talked about it? What's going to happen to that child? How is this family going to impact the child? How is this child going to impact the family? Do you have a past? Have you dealt with your past? Have you discussed it with your husband? Or is that one day you just be walking, somebody will be greeting you as if you're still their girlfriend? They don't know you're already married for 5 years. Because you never told them, I'm married now. And they will think, yeah, I see my baby, call you baby. When you have 4 children. You have to deal with those things. And shut the door. Anybody can make mistakes. It's not your mistakes that will kill you. It's how you respond to life.
Wow, interesting. Now, is there any rule that you can say, what's the ultimate rule to be happy in marriage? Is there any rule?
Love and trust. You have to love your spouse. Love
and trust.
You can't be happy and married without love. You can't be happy and married without trust. Absolute trust. You can't be saying, give the phone to the driver, let me confirm where you are. If there's no trust, the marriage is down. And there are many reasons people lose trust in marriage when somebody has lied to them. I told them untruth and they found out by themselves and they said, what other thing have they not told me?
Yes.
So that's what they call disclosure in marriage. Disclose. Now, but you can't disclose to a person that's immature. A man cannot go and say to the wife, if the wife is immature, say, in my office, there's one woman that's eyeing me, I don't know what to do. The woman may slap you and say you're flirting. Whereas you may actually be under pressure from somebody who is actually distracted. Depends on the level of maturity of your spouse.
Okay. Now, the one I want to ask is, how do you handle conflict
in
marriage?
So it's called conflict resolution. A couple should agree how they resolve their conflicts before they marry. If they're not, why they're married, they should. They should have accountability couple. If we have issues that cannot be resolved, who can we go to? Who are accountability couples? It can't be everybody. It can be parents on both sides. It could be one of them. It depends. Who is mature enough to be neutral and to listen through and profess solutions to your challenges in marriage? Yes.
Now, if you have broken trust, you talked about earlier on, you talked
Sure.
about trust and love.
Love, sure.
Now, if someone has been in marriage and the trust has been broken severally, and then how can the process of rebuilding it come into it again for the love to reunite in the family at home?
Nothing is guaranteed. You have to rebuild by rebuilding. If you've broken somebody's trust, the only is on them to forgive and to start trusting again. There's no formula. You have to make credit, invest in the relationship over and over again. That's what I think.
So that means you can permit this spouse to still be suspicious of the other person's move at every given time. Why? Because persons are broken trust. Even if they're clean or things he has changed.
I'm not saying that. People forget. People forgive. They don't forget. If a man, unfortunately, has done something wrong, maybe had an affair, unfortunately, the onus is on the woman to forgive. The woman's ability to forgive is a function of a level of maturity, dedication to Christ, and her commitment to the ideals of the faith. Yes.
Now, what are the 5 major things to look out for in a partner?
5 major things. The fear of God. Godly relationship. Is the person close to God? Forgiveness. Do they forgive? Respect. Would they respect you, your in-laws, your siblings? And number 5 is what I call their commitment to the faith. Why that's important is that it will determine their level of their ability to forgive and be forgiven. Yeah.
Is there anything like spiritual husband or spiritual wife?
I think they exist. I think so, because life is spiritual. Spiritual. There are people that you don't understand why they're not comfortable in their marriage. I know of a lady, she's not late. She was married and she kept fighting until she left that marriage. She died without a husband. It sounds funny, but life is spiritual. So what that means is that life is intensely spiritual. So it should not be surprising if there's a spiritual realm and people have relations in that realm. It's not a surprising thing.
It's possible for that to affect marriage.
It is highly possible, because if you have a spiritual husband, the spiritual husband will make sure your physical husband is in trouble. And it happens. People are married and they have issues, you can't explain it. Yes.
Do you advise them like deliverance, process of restoration?
Deliverance is part of the Bible. It's the children's bread. Cast out devils. Bind, loose, get out if you go. But the person involved must be willing to be free. They can't be hugging the devil and you can't have the devil. No. Most of the time the devil says, I'm here because they allow me. They want me. You can't cut me out. No, you are violating them. They want me. Because many times people want you. Yeah.
In closing now, what are the final words regarding marriage, regarding anybody that is planned, that is looking forward to getting married? What are your final words?
My final word is marriage is a beautiful thing. Marriage is God's idea. Marriage, a working marriage, is the closest to heaven we can get on this earth. A marriage that is not working is the closest to hell we can get on this earth. What it takes to have a working marriage is to humble yourself. Be hungry for it. Put on the mindset that there will be no stress in my home. Make the choice to love, adore, cherish your partner, and be willing to say, I'm sorry, be willing to forgive and be forgiven. And don't be afraid to ask God for help in that marriage. Nothing is impossible to the person that believes.
This is powerful. Thank you so much, sir, regarding this. So that is it, guys. That is it on marriage. So I believe if you are looking for a spouse or you're thinking to get married, this indeed is going to help you. But if you know people that are married already, that are experiencing different forms of challenges and all of that, I believe sharing this video with one or two of them is going to be of great benefit to them. So thanks again for watching. My name is Benzik, and if you're yet to subscribe, hit the subscribe button and turn on the post notification. And I will see you again on the next episode. Cheers.